about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So let's give you some updates on some of the things that have been happening as it pertains to airplanes. Many of you heard that this weekend there was a plane that caught fire in Houston. USA Today is reporting that the wing of a United Airlines aircraft was on fire Sunday morning. All 104 passengers and 5 crew were able to very safely exit the plane, thank God. It was preparing to fly to LaGuardia Airport in New York from George Bush International in Houston. No injuries reported. All passengers were able to rebook for an afternoon flight. I believe that flight was taken off earlier in the morning. They say the FAA is investigating the engine issue. Obviously, this is making people very, very nervous as we're still dealing with the aftermath of the D.C. Plane crash and Black Hawk helicopter collision, as well as the medevac plane that crashed in Philadelphia. So this happened in terms of the Houston fire. Around 8:30 a.m., people were videotaping the wing being on fire, and they think it was from, they're still looking at what's going on with the engine. Luckily, they were able to extinguish it fairly quickly, but this is very, very concerning. The crashes in Philly and D.C. were getting some more information. In fact, with the Philadelphia plane crash, this was a medevac taking a little child who had, from what I understand, just finished her chemotherapy. She was with her mom, and there were other crew members, I think 4 other crew members. Sadly, that plane, within a minute of takeoff, just did a dive or a nosedive down to the ground. It killed one person on the ground, multiple other people injured as it was near a mall. They did find the black box. From what I understand, the impact of the plane went down at least, I think 8 feet, they say, but they have been able to salvage the black box from the Jet Rescue Air Ambulance Learjet 55 that, from what I understand, was a license in Mexico and was going to be going back to Mexico after it was supposed to be going from Philly to Springfield, Missouri, I believe. But the National Transportation Safety Board says they have recovered it, so hopefully more details will come soon. And the cockpit voice recorder could hopefully... Oh, that's where they found it, 8 feet below the site of initial impact. And so they hope it could contain flight data to figure out what possibly could have happened in such a tragic flight. Meanwhile, we're getting a little bit more information on the D.C. plane crash. The National Transportation Safety Board is looking at some of the communications, and they believe that the Black Hawk helicopter was aware. There was apparently, before the crash, confirmation that there was that the pilots did see it, tried to correct. I think there was also some confirmation that the American Airlines flight that was coming from Wichita, Kansas to D.C., carrying 64 people on board, also was aware, but unfortunately at the last minute. You're also going to hear that the D.C. Air Traffic Control Tower had 5 people, I believe, that were staffed at the time at the Air Traffic Control Tower. One of you asked me how many people are supposed to be in a tower. It depends on the size of the airport. I'm hearing numbers anywhere from 2 to 10. We don't have too much information yet. From what we understand, we're going to get more as they're looking at the radar data. The National Transportation Safety Board is going to be releasing a little bit more. But from what we understand, the altitude was incorrect, that the helicopter was not supposed to be at the altitude that it was, obviously. And the big question we all have is how the hell could this have happened where you have a military exercise where there's commercial flights? And, how could the helicopter be at the wrong altitude? How could there not be enough warning systems on these planes that are supposed to have as many warning systems? And so families want answers, and I understand that. Families have come to visit the crash site Americans want answers. Everybody wants answers. This was so tragic. But when you look at what's been going on, I every now and then I look at FlightAware, to check on family members' flights, and it's pretty daunting when you go to FlightAware and you see all the flights and you see all the planes and you understand the different altitudes they need to be in. You're looking at the going. I mean, thank God we don't have the number of air disasters that could possibly happen with so much traffic. But is somebody going to, bring up the question, do we really need to look at the traffic? I mean, we're using our skies like you see in these movies of the future where we have cars and flying. Everybody's like, when are we going to have flying cars? And even though there is a flying car, we've seen it. We have the technology to make flying cars. Are we ready for that? If we can barely manage, air traffic control and flights coming into busy airports with tried and true standards and radar, I don't even think we're anywhere near ready having flying cars. And I know people want this. They're like, oh, that's going to be awesome. And look at the issues we're having with drones. I think a drone hit a plane that was trying to fight the Palisades fires. Come on, people. If we don't have our acts together when it comes to regular flying in the FAA, we have no business putting anything more up into our skies. And we do a lot of travel. We have more and more people. People prefer to travel. They don't want to be on a train. They don't want, especially with train derailments and other issues we're having. If they don't have to drive and lose a week, in their car to get someplace that they could get to in a couple hours. I fly a lot. But, maybe that's the problem. If we don't have enough air traffic controllers, if we don't have enough safety measures, maybe we need to slow our roll. Maybe we do, have too busy an airport. Now, I understand, and I watch airports, and my husband's a pilot. It could be choreographed beautifully, and it could be done, and it has been done. Look at Atlanta. Look at O'Hare. Look at LAX. We're able to do this, but when something like this doesn't go the way it should, and we have people dying, we need to stop and look at what the hell we're doing. 1-877-Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I want to take you back into the setting. It's 1850 in the Bayou country of Louisiana. Bridlewood House is a place of wealth and privilege, but there is also a darkness, a curse that holds the inhabitants captive without their knowledge. Charlotte is the beautiful young heiress who must assume her mother's place in society. Emily is her best friend and her maid, who must face that those roles are changing. Anatoly, hope I'm pronouncing it right, is the handsome young footman, God, it sounds sexy, who desperately wishes to escape to start his own life away from the constraints of Bridlewood. All their lives are about to be forever changed by a dark and handsome stranger. And one fateful Christmas gala sets a chain of events in motion that echoes through the century. I can't wait. Forever Twilight, The Dark Emeralds. This is the book that is going to take us through this story. And the author, one of my favorite authors on the planet, is Jerry Lambert, best-selling author and producer, and back again to talk to us about his latest work. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Daliah. I always love having a chat with you about books.
Oh, my gosh. And you're gifted. You're gifted. So your latest is Forever Twilight. Talk to us about this.
Well, I had written a book series called The Dark Emeralds, and it started with Queen of Swords. And that was a book and a series that takes place in a dual timeline between 1850 and the present day. But it all really was about this one incident in 1850 that set this chain of events in motion. And so I decided, because I had a lot of readers who would ask me questions about it, they said, tell us more about this chain of events where people realized this curse and the things that were happening, and so I decided this is a really good opportunity to go back and just focus entirely on this 1850 storyline. It sort of bridges this gap between historical fiction and paranormal thriller, and with a little romance thrown in. And I just had a lot of fun writing it.
Oh, wow. And this is, I think, the fourth in the series?
Yes, it's the fourth and final in the series. It's a prequel, so it's for people who have not read the series yet, and it might interest them in the series, or for people who've already read the series and want to know more about this universe where this takes place.
And it starts with Queen of Swords, and then I believe it goes to Minor Arcana. Yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, then Minor Arcana, and then Apocrypha. And they all, there's a story arc about what caused the curse and how they reveal and understand it, and how it affects their modern day lives, and also how they can hope to reverse it and change it in the end of the arc. And then, but really what Forever Twilight does is explain, let us know more about the people who were in those original tragic events that set this in motion.
The recipe you use in your writing is brilliant. You have the love, you have the suspense, there's that drama, and it's fascinating. And I also love the setting. I think there's something about the mid to late 1800s where it's in the past, but it also can interlay very, relevant and current themes. Why did you choose that time frame?
Well, I specifically chose 1850 because I wanted it to be pre-Civil War, because, once Civil War happened, that so materially changed everything in that part of the South. And I was born and raised in the South, so it's an area that I know well. And I just wanted to set it at that point because it's such a point of so much change is about to happen. So all of that change is relevant to the rest of the book. And so I think that it's a beautiful, romantic time that we think about. But it's also important to, when you go back and look at how those individual lives were, things were certainly much more difficult than the romantic idea that we get from Gone with the Wind.
Mm-hmm. And you could focus more on the story. I take a look at settings. A lot of people talk to me about the book they're writing, and my book. I mean, I write a lot of more how-to and teaching books, but my fictional book, it's taken me a while. It's taken me a while to get to. And when using modern day settings, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of, but they could just use cameras for that. Or I think Modern Family did a fantastic take on this, where there was an author who was writing a fantastic story, but they're like, but the cameras on the train would have figured this out. And then, he had to interlay all the modern technology that almost ruined the romanticism of the story. And so I think what you did there was brilliant.
Thank you. When I wrote Queen of Swords, that was one of the big issues that I had. I'm writing a mystery thriller that is set in, part of it is set in the present day, and that mystery thriller had to have basically contact was taken away. I needed to take away cell phones in some fashion so that people couldn't just, let me just call someone and have myself taken out of here. That is where the location comes in handy, because it's far enough in the deep south in Terrebonne Parish in Louisiana where you can legitimately get away with not having cell service and Wi-Fi service. And so that is the challenge of writing a modern mystery. And when you are set in, of course, writing this one set entirely in 1850, I didn't have any worries about that. Exactly.
Yeah, we're speaking to Jerry Lambert, best-selling author and producer. Jerry, a lot of people have been looking to tapping in on their artistic side, and you are definitely overflow with artistry. I'm a huge fan of yours. What advice can you give to new authors who struggle because you found yours recently. You became an author recently. What sort of advice can you give to new authors?
Well, I have always been a writer. That's something that I've always done. But I only, decided to start writing for publishing when I was, I guess it was I was 45, I think, when I started my first book. And I'm 54 now. But I think that the thing that I would tell anybody is, if you want to write, read a lot, and read a lot of the kind of books that you want to write, because plotting and pacing are really informed by what you learn from what you're reading. And you'll find that you'll learn how to put a story together. Certainly if you're an English major, that helps a lot, but you don't need to be. I'm not. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what, you need to have a good knowledge of how it's done, but then your editor is going to clean up for you as well afterwards. But when it comes to really getting the story down, you just have to take notes and always have notepads with you. I do all the time, because story ideas come to me, and creativity can be really fleeting. Something that I swear I'm never going to forget, I will forget 15 minutes later.
It's true. And, also many people think that if they are going to author a book by themselves, it has to be 1000% themselves. And you are able to get inspiration from others. You are able to connect with others to edit or, read this, get their opinions,
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's so daunting.
You must have outside help. You must have an outside editor. I do not believe that you can edit yourself effectively. I think that you can edit yourself, but then someone still has to edit afterwards. Because you see the words as they are in your mind sometimes. That means that you miss that it's not actually saying that on the page. You don't ever want that to happen.
So true. How can my listeners find your great works?
Well, it's available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I love bookshop.org is a great resource for paperback books and hardback books, because they support local small independent bookstores. So you can buy through there and not just support the mega billionaire conglomerates. You can actually go to bookshop.org. It's a great place, a great resource for buying paperback books.
Mm-hmm. And these are great gifts.
My ebooks are. I have an exclusive thing with Amazon for my ebooks, so those are only available on Kindle Reader for the first 6 months.
Okay, and I'll share the link for my listeners. This could be a great Valentine's gift, Mother's Day gift, Father's Day gift. These are fantastic books. Jerry Lambert, thank you so much for coming on. We can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877 Doc Dali.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
All right. We're back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So Trump is making some really bold moves as it pertains to federal workers, and these return to office mandates are causing some confusion among people. Not in the simplistic request to come back to work or you're fired, but we're also seeing other federal workers' positions might be in jeopardy. And so federal workers who have been with the U.S. government and has worked with the U.S. government despite the administration, not newly created agencies under Biden or under Trump previously, and they're asking, do I take the money and run? So as many of you are aware, February 6th is the deadline for those federal workers who have been working from home and doing telehealth work to make a choice either to come back to the office or to leave. If they choose to not come back to the office or leave, they will get paid till September 30th, even if they don't show up to work, which is kind of a nice severance. It's a really nice severance package for those people who, and we're being told that many individuals may be looking at other companies. Trump's concern is, of course, people who have been double dipping or they have been working from home, which, by the way, from what I understand, is breaking the law. If you were getting a federal salary while at the same time getting another salary, the double dipping I don't think was allowed. But I don't think it's allowed at all, but people have been doing it. We caught on to that back in 2020 and 2021 where people were working two separate jobs and going back and forth on their computers between both jobs and getting two salaries. But also the concern that I think what Trump is doing is he wants to see who is going to leave. So then he decides what numbers he has in the federal government. He wants to do a purge of individuals who might not be 40-hour a week, ready to, hit the ground running and, excited to come to work and do their job, et cetera. He wants to know whoever decides to quit, then he gets to see if those positions need to be filled or do they ever need to be filled. One way to tell if a remote worker was working and contributing is if they're no longer doing their job, what deficit do you see? And then what needs to be done to fix that deficit? And if he finds that there was no deficit, the FDA is still doing what they're doing, the CDC is still doing what they're doing, or the misses are still being missed, that gives him or whoever is running the HR portion of that an idea of what they need to hire, who they need to hire, and if they even need to fill that position. What's happening, however, is federal workers are now getting a little nervous with USAID being closed down and federal workers being told not to come in. That makes a lot of federal workers nervous, going, well, wait a second. I have till February 6th to decide so that I get paid through the 30th. But if I don't take this deal because I want to work on site, I'm still loyal and, I'm still, a career federal worker and I love my job and I still want to, man my post and do what I'm doing. People are now talking amongst themselves going, well, what if I get canned February 14th? Or what if I get canned the 21st? And now I lost out on that deal that could take me through to the 30th. Now, did Trump realize that would happen, or is there a method to his madness, and it's a genius move to see if people are on the fence? Now, understanding employer-employee relations, okay? When somebody looks for a job and somebody has a job, one, they want to be paid. Two, they want to make sure they're doing something that they like, that they can do. They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to feel overwhelmed. They don't want to feel like they don't know what they're doing and lives are going to be lost. They want to feel they're making a difference, but they also want to feel it's steady and stable. They want to know that if they have this job and there's a year contract or a 2-year contract, okay, they can count on that. Now, there's a lot of gray area right now, a lot of fog as it pertains to our houses and our mortgage and our interest rates and all that. And so when federal workers are reaching out to me going, what do you know? What do you hear? What do you hear? I don't think we do know. What we know now is programs such as DEI or programs that could be overspending money that needs to be spent here domestically are getting cut. And Trump has made that clear since day one. So if you are in a position that was created by Biden that may not be in line with the current administration's priorities, there's a good chance that job might not exist. Now, what about these longer term? USAID has been around, I believe, for a while. What about some of these other agencies that, if you at all think that your job is at risk, from what I understand, the federal government did give like a phone number for you to ask questions. And if you see the writing on the wall that you are in something that you think is going to get cut, I'm not here to advise you one way or the other, but if you need stability and you need income and you think you could get another job that'll provide you that, then that's a decision you and your family need to make. But if you don't have another job and your job market is looking kind of bleak, I don't know if I would jump if you are in a position that, still the government needs. Now, the Department of Education, a lot of questions are surrounding that. Trump has said he wants to close the Department of Education. Is he going to do that during the summer? Is he going to do that at the end of the school year? I don't know. I mean, one thing that some employers do or some leaders do is before they have to actually do the firing, they'll say, look, for those of you who aren't serious, who don't want, you're going to have to work. We're going to be, putting in the hours and we're going to be doing the job that needs to be done. If that doesn't, appeal to you, leave and leave now. And I think there's a lot of people who are like, look, I'm close to retiring. Let me take the deal. I don't want to come back to the office. I really don't like my job. I really don't want to work for the government long term. I want to do other things. They might do that. But I'm worried about the individuals who have been federal workers for a while. And, I understand that federal workers have this stereotype of you can't get fired. Once you're in, it's really hard to fire you. And so we've seen a lot of half-assed work. We've seen a lot of laziness, but I do think there's also really good workers. And I know people want us to, tell the future of what's going on. And there's a lot of variables. You have, what does Elon Musk like? Now, people are looking to Elon Musk's tweets to see, who might be next and losing their jobs. And it's very unsettling. On the other hand, however, Trump does need a government to run. Now, mind you, government might have gotten too big. Okay, Democrats expand the government, Republicans shrink the government. That's something that has always been happening. So layoffs and changes in administrations aren't anything new. But Trump might really try to shrink the government so quickly, so fast, that many people are feeling uneasy. Do I think he's going to shrink the military? No. Is it going to stop wasteful spending in the military? Probably. Is he going to expand money and hirings for the border and for national security? I think probably. Is he going to want to improve on the hospital infrastructure and on what happens medically for the Make America Healthy Again movement? Yes. But is he going to fire people that might not be doing their jobs or might not be necessarily working on those tasks at the CDC, FDA? Could be. So I understand it's a little anxiety invoking. If we know more, we'll share it. But keep your questions coming. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So this question keeps coming up. Should people be bribed to lose weight, and does it work? When employers give you goodies when you lose weight, or you make money, or you get free fitness, shall we say, memberships, or discounts on your insurance, does it work? My answer to this is yes and no. My answer to a lot of things are yes and no. If somebody is bribed to lose weight. They will lose weight. But I have to think about the total health. If that bribe stops, do they gain the weight back? And this is something that we need to be aware of. Well, what sort of bribes are out there? Well, employers might say, look, your health insurance is going to be at a lower cost because you've lost the weight and you aren't using your health insurance as much. So there's incentives with your health insurance company. Some employers might be creative, saying we're going to give you guys an extra half day off. We all weigh in and, or we'll buy lunch. It'll be a healthy lunch, but we'll buy lunch for you guys. Or there's a whole variety of different things that people could do. But to really get somebody out of the obesity range when 3/4 of our population is not their ideal weight is tricky. So West Virginia might trial this. I don't know if it's confirmed. And I'm sorry, my nose is running. But Robert Chero, former general counsel for the Department of Health and Human Services, I believe he worked during the first Trump term, is asking that the current administration trial this plan in West Virginia because West Virginia is one of the states that has the highest obesity and the highest chronic disease rate. They're known as the Mountain State, has the highest rate of chronic diseases linked to obesity, hence uses a lot of Medicaid money, Medicare money. And so Charo had suggested that if West Virginia, the state alone, reduced its obesity rate down from 40% to 25%, then nobody in West Virginia should have to pay taxes. Now, that's interesting. To remove the IRS or federal tax payment requirement from a state that has dropped their weight, would that work? Now, does that mean for the people who aren't losing weight? They're talking about the whole state of West Virginia. So they're talking about in West Virginia, if you live in West Virginia and cumulatively everybody's weight drops from, let's say, 40 to 25%. This is just a random number. It's not set in stone. Everybody in that state doesn't have to pay federal taxes. Now, I think this is going to cause complications because I'm sure Iowa and Mississippi and Alabama are like, wait a second here. So we're paying when West Virginia doesn't have to, et cetera. And then what happens if all the states decide to do it? Nobody's paying taxes. How does that all work? But I want to just look granularly as, will eliminating somebody's taxes keep the weight off? What about the people that don't have to lose weight and then all of a sudden the state fails? Is that now going to turn people against those who are obese? And it's interesting. And then do you, as a skinny person, help those who are obese lose weight? Are people going to manipulate the scales? I think in human nature, what happens is initially people get their butts into gear and they're like, I'm going to make this goal. And if you're talking about money, I think a lot of them will do it. I don't think everybody could. I think there's a lot of individuals that struggle with obesity that is beyond what they eat. Could be their metabolism, could be their bone mass, their thyroid. It could be, a variety of factors. They could have a debilitating disease that doesn't allow them to get to the gym and work things off. But I think there's going to be a subset of people who will get the weight off. The problem is what happens if that incentive is taken away? And people will say, listen, if I could get to a size 2, there is no way I'm going to gain the weight back. Yes, we gain the weight back. You know how many times I looked at myself in the mirror going, damn, I could wear a bikini. I look good in this. I am never going to gain weight. It happened. I eat less calories now. I work out more than I ever have, and I'm heavier than I've been. There's a lot of genetics in play. The women in my family aren't skinny. I was the skinniest one in my family next to my aunt. And, there's one side of the family that was skinnier. But for the most part, I was able to keep the weight off without a problem. And then all of a sudden, I get my first hot flash and things go downhill or uphill in terms of weight. So a concern I have is if the incentive isn't there or they don't make the goal, does everybody say, you know what, to hell with this? See, the worry I have is the rapid weight gain. Rapid weight gain is dangerous. This is why I have an issue with these weight loss injections. Losing the weight is fine. But when people go off the medications and regain the weight back, where are the studies looking at the heart risk and the kidney risk and the liver risk and the stroke risk with that? There's all these studies showing how losing the weight is amazing. And we did just have a study published in Nature Medicine looking at all the health benefits when you lose the weight. There were side effects like pancreatitis, ileus, GI issues, kidney disease with these weight loss drugs. But for the most part, doctors are ecstatic that people are losing weight. That's if they could stay on it. These medications are expensive. $1,000 a month, and a lot of times insurance won't pay for it. So eventually somebody can't pay for it, or we run out of the medication, or they get a side effect. And then when they rebound fast, it's dangerous. That's why you keep hearing these studies say don't yo-yo diet. That going up and down is dangerous than you slowly losing your weight. I know we want to get the weight off and fast. We want to get our blood pressures down. We want to get our sugars in control. We want to get the cholesterol down. We want to unclog our arteries. I get that. But instead, we're seeing people yo-yo. We got to figure out a way where slow and steady wins the race. And maybe incentives will work for some, but I don't think it'll work for everybody. And I think some people will say, you know what? To heck with this. I didn't get the money, or I'm not noticing. And then how do you get them to pay taxes 5 years from now? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work. But you would think it would be incentive enough to be there for your children, to be there for your grandchildren. But we get complacent. We're like, well, I'm fine now. I'm doing okay now. And I had a burger. So I guess I'm good. That should be incentive enough. And it's not. Interesting. The most successful people that quit smoking were the ones that almost died of a lung infection or COPD. In all my years of practicing, the people who, because everybody's like, is it the Chantix? Is it the nicotine patches? Is it the gum? Is it the vaping? The most successful people who quit were the ones who almost died. Now, we can't put everybody through that sort of fear. We can make them watch a video. We can have them read books. We can have them. But, somebody, as a patient told me, what the hell am I doing? I almost lost my life and I'll never see my grandkids grow up. The hell with this. I'm done with smoking. So everybody finds their own incentive. And for the government to pay you to lose weight, I don't see that happening. And I see people upset. Well, then what about those people who drive too fast, or people that don't wear a helmet, or people that don't wear a seatbelt? Once the government gets involved, the government really gets involved. I like the idea of employers doing bonuses. I like the idea of there being a, everybody who lost 5 pounds, put it in the raffle and we have a gift. Weight Watchers would do that. Back in the 80s, where, those people that were losing weight, there were gifts. Those who were, doing well and not gaining their weight back, there were all these incentives. But I got to tell you, as soon as people stopped, they gained their weight back. So I don't know if this would work. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's Medishare. Maybe you've heard switching to Medishare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for Medishare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medishare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.